In the quiet village of Elmswood, there lived a carpenter named Thomas. He was known for his skillful hands but also for his sharp tongue. He had built many houses, mended countless chairs and carved beautiful doors, but he was quick to judge others. One morning as he walked to the marketplace, Thomas noticed a young man named Jacob struggling to carry a sack of grain. The sack was torn, spilling grain with every step. Thomas shook his head. "That boy is careless," he muttered to himself. If he had stitched the sack properly, he wouldn't be wasting his grain. Later that day, Thomas saw an elderly woman, Martha, sitting outside her home, watching the villagers pass by. She rarely spoke to anyone, and Thomas assumed she was bitter and unfriendly. "She probably thinks she's better than the rest of us," he thought. That afternoon, Thomas returned to his workshop to build a table for a wealthy merchant. As he worked, he reached for a nail, but knocked over a jar of paint, spilling it all over the freshly polished wood. He groaned in frustration. Just then, Jacob, the young man he had judged earlier, walked by and saw the mess. Instead of laughing or criticizing, Jacob stepped in. "Let me help you clean this up, Thomas. Accidents happen." Thomas was taken aback. He had judged Jacob as careless, yet here he was, kind and understanding. Later that evening, Martha knocked on his door carrying a warm loaf of bread. "I saw how hard you worked today, Thomas. I thought you might appreciate this." Thomas hesitated before taking the bread. He had judged Martha as cold and distant, yet she had shown him kindness. That night, as he sat by the fire, he remembered the words of the village priest, "Do not judge, or you too will be judged." He had been quick to criticize others without knowing their struggles, yet they had shown him grace. From that day on, Thomas chose to look at people with understanding, rather than judgment, and in doing so, he found himself surrounded by the kindness he once failed to see.